I, 25M, have been married to my wife, 26F, for the last year. We were together 3 years before that. We have a home together, and my wife had said we would try for kids after she graduated college. For some background, my wife had been, at the time I met her, working a minimum wage cashier job at the local grocery store. I happened to be one of those guys who don't make lists of what they need for the week, so I frequented the grocery store, which meant I would see her often. Eventually, I asked her out and she said yes. As you may have guessed from her job when I met her, she had not ever gone to college, so, once we were married and in a good place financially, she told me she wanted to go to college and get a degree. I was all for this as I wanted her to feel good about herself. She often felt insecure about being less educated than the people around us, and so I started paying for her to attend a local community college. About halfway through the first semester, I noticed she was getting distant. Now I think it is important to note that I work a 9-to-5 job doing IT for a company. I am very good with computers and have been working to start my tech startup business. So when the warning bell started going off in my head, the first thing I did was log onto her computer, which she had synced up to her phone, and find the messages that proved she was cheating on me. I documented all of this and sent it to myself, and then did a little digging. It turns out the guy she's cheating with is a professor at the college. He apparently was a senior when she was a freshman in high school and has since become a professor at the community college. Once this was all documented, I quietly began preparing for the divorce. I decided to have a little fun with it while I waited, to see just how far I could push her to cover up the cheating. I began showing up randomly at her school. I would make sure to time it right when I knew they would be alone together, which I could always be sure of thanks to their messages, which I could see, and continued to document. At one point I actually think he hid her in a closet in his classroom as I walked in. Of course, I would always have an excuse. She forgot her coat, she forgot her lunch, and we had a family emergency that somehow got resolved. I could tell the two of them were getting more and more stressed about it as I continued to coincidentally appear whenever they were going to be doing their illicit activities. I made sure not to interrupt all of them, however, as I had more to my plan. Eventually, the stress got to them, and they ended up making plans to go to a hotel, as my interrupting made their on-campus hookups become too risky. This was, of course, all part of my plan. Because the room was booked with my credit card, the cheap professor couldn't even be bothered to use his card. I was able to call ahead and have them put a room key on the side. I called up my wife's parents and told them that my wife and I had arranged for a romantic night together for them with a couple's massage and fancy dinner in their room. I gave them a folder containing the divorce papers and told them to give it to my wife when they got there, but not to look at it as it would ruin the surprise. I then sat back at home and waited. An hour and a half later, my wife came in, screaming about how awful I was for doing that and asking me how long I had known for. I told her I had known for weeks and I just wanted to see the lengths she and her new man would go to hide their affair. She told me that I was selfish and that I did not care about her at all if I would humiliate her the way I did. I told her that I work a full-time job while trying to start my own business to put her through school, and she is here calling me selfish when she is the one who is going around cheating on me with a professor at the school I was paying for. I told her that my next step was reporting him to the school as a formal complaint from me, with the proof I had would be enough to cost him his job. She begged me not to because he loved his job. My response was simply, of course he does, his students are all hoes. She packed her stuff that night and was gone by morning. I did in fact file a complaint and get him fired. She was also thrown out of the school for inappropriate student conduct as they had had sex in the school. My wife has since moved in with an old co-worker from the grocery store in a ramshackle apartment in the bad part of the town. The professor dumped her after he was fired, and her parents have cut contact with both her and me. I think they are mad about me having them walk in on their daughter having sex. The good news is, with the extra time and money I now have from not having to pay for my wife's schooling and not having to put time into a relationship, I have actually been able to get my tech startup off the ground. I guess all's well that ends well.